Hey there, everyone. It's Tony here from Marathon Mates. This week, Tim and Tara have made it back to Australia finally, and we'll be recapping the 2024 Boston Marathon. They're going to talk about the highs and the lows that they experienced during Marathon Week in Boston. We are also joined by one of our latest six-star superstars or legends, Lucia Benko, who was also a friend of the podcast way back in episode 28. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
Welcome to the thrilling world of the Flying RuNR, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to the Flying RuNR Podcast. This is our 44th episode tonight. It is awesome to be joined by some super special people. Team Ellis, for starters, who've just come back from the USA following their Boston Marathon efforts. Firstly, Tim and Tara, congrats on getting that star, your fourth overall, and I can't wait to dive into your story. So also on the screen, if you're watching on video and if you're on audio, you'll hear the voice. We are joined by Lucia Benko, one of the more recent six-star legends from Australia here, and she also completed the Boston Marathon with so many good news stories. And if you are watching on video, Lucia was just showing off her six-star medal. So, but before we jump into the good news with Lucia, many of the listeners will know that it was quite a tough slog for the Team Ellis team, but somehow you just found a way to keep pushing forward and you got to the finish line. So, Tim and Tara, congrats first up. I know we're going to hear your story, so don't dive into it just yet, but how good is it to be back home?
Yeah, it's nice to be back home. It's a bit of a hard reality going back to work to save for the next trip, but yeah, it is nice. It is nice to be home and sleeping in our own beds. So yeah, it's been a big trip. So yeah.
Yep, exactly that. We got what we wanted, which is another star. We probably didn't go as well as we wanted to on the run, but the rest of the holiday was perfect. So you can't complain.
It looked pretty good with a couple of beers just sparingly used along the way, I see, Tim. But
only a couple.
And Lucia, congratulations, six-star. How are you feeling?
It's still so surreal.
Yeah.
Like, it's just still can't believe that I got it in Boston. And the fact that I was able to share it with friends as well. It's just, yeah, it's such a surreal thing to actually think, yeah, I've actually done it. I'm actually Boston Marathoner and a six-star finisher as well. And then to top it off, I got a PB.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was a little bit chuffed.
Yeah. Now, for those people listening on video, we have just lost Tara, so there's a little bit of a technical gremlin there. So, but we'll plug away and hopefully she'll come back. So,
her computer shut down accidentally, so she's restarting it.
And that can happen. That can happen. So,
yeah, so she'll be here shortly.
So let's talk about Team Ellis first, because I think you guys are absolute crazy legends, for want of another word. Let me just you landed in Brisbane very early Saturday morning, right? So after a long flight, I'm presuming, what was the first thing you ended up doing?
Well, we arrived at 4:58 a.m. We were able to clear customs, get our bags, get a Uber, catch it home, and we arrived home at 5:50. So less than an hour after the plane arrived at the airport. And as you do on a Saturday morning, you get up, you go off to parkrun, and that's exactly what Tara and I did at 6:45. Less than 2 hours after arriving in the country, we were running out at Bunyaville Parkrun and caught up with a number of our friends and went for a light jog to help get us back into the routine of things, I guess. So
Yeah.
a little bit crazy, but at the same time, I think it actually helped us. After 14 hours of sitting in the air in quite confined space, a bit of swelling in the body as you do when you do those sort of long flights. It was good just to get out and move the legs, get some fresh air in the lungs. And to be honest, it helped Tara and I get through the rest of the day. We treated it like a normal Saturday. We went to parkrun, we had breakfast, did the usual chores, cleaned up a little bit, did all of our washing, and all of a sudden it felt like just a normal Saturday. And here she is. Hello, Tara.
Sorry. I don't know what happened. My computer just decided it was going to just stop. So I apologise. I'm back.
All right,
Yes.
so we've just heard all about Bunyaville Parkrun, Tara. So just crazy, but I suppose the way Tim explained it, it made sense. So did you do that when you first landed, Lucia? Did you come back home on a Saturday and go out and do parkrun?
No, so I came home on a Friday, and one of the first things that I did was I unpacked, because I'm like, so that way it's done and dusted. So I tried to stay up as long as I could on the Friday. I think I went to bed by about 8 o'clock, but I did get up to go to my run club on a Saturday, more so because I thought it'd be good for the body, like just to get the legs moving again and to help with the jet lag. But also I did wear some of my Boston merch. I did bring my medals with me just so I could show off my pride and joy.
Yeah,
as such. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, and you deserve to. I mean, I when I got our 6-star in Tokyo, I so look forward to wearing it into work that day and showing it off and passing it around the other leaders in there. So absolutely. Have you thought about what you're doing with it now, or are you still wearing it as an accessory?
It's still as an accessory for the moment. I still haven't worked out how I want to put all 6 together. Like I want to do it, but I just haven't worked out how to do it yet.
Yeah, it's tougher than you think.
Yeah. Because and then you have to have space, like, and then do you put a photo of each major as well, like of you getting your medal of each major? Do you just do the medals? It's it's not easy.
Yeah. So until then, it goes in a shoebox. So, so have you started training again for your next adventure?
I've been asked that question a lot. What's my next adventure? And at the moment, I have no idea.
Okay.
What I ultimately would like to do one day, I'd love to do the 7 continents, 7 marathons in 7 days, but it's just so expensive to do. So that would be the ultimate.
Yeah.
I would love to do Dopey again. That's still on there, and some friends want to do Dopey as well. So, but yeah, I just haven't worked out what's going to be the next big thing, because I like to have something booked. So at least I've got Sydney coming up, trying to help Sydney become a major. That one falls on my birthday, so I won't be. So it's going to be a fun marathon. I don't have to focus so much on time because I know I've got the 7 hours to do it in.
Yeah.
I've got a few shorter races leading up to that, but yeah, in terms of the next big challenge, no, I need to have something.
Yeah.
But I just don't know yet.
That's awesome. So, from my own perspective, I went out and did Cleveland Park Run for the first time, and I did it in between. Like I ran down to Park Run, and then I did Park Run, and then I did overall I did about 14.5 Ks. So I'm starting to build numbers again. I'm 4 weeks out of 5 weeks out of Brisbane Half, and then 10 weeks away from Gold Coast Marathon. So just starting to work through that again. Sharon's not running at the moment. She's had a couple of injections for some in her foot. So she gets walking again, I think, next Friday. So I'm going to run Brisbane Half with her. I'm not going to we'll do that together. And then Gold Coast, I'm going to crack on and try and get a time. It was interesting at Cleveland Park Run, lovely park run. I don't know if you've ever done it, but there's a boardwalk section. And as you're coming into the boardwalk, it's on a downhill slope, but it's slightly undulating. I didn't pick up the slightly undulating bit. And so at one stage, I'm saying to myself, geez, I'm feeling pretty good here. I'm just going to go with it, right? And go with it meant shortening my stride once I hit an undulation. And once again, Curly hits the deck, doesn't he?
Oh.
And everyone stops and says, are you okay? And I said, I was more embarrassed than anything else, but and then just got back up and started going again. So note to self, next time I do Cleveland, which will probably be this Saturday, to be honest, take it easy on the boardwalk, Tony, and probably look down a little bit. So
it's a beautiful course, that one.
It is a good course, and it's a quick course, so which is surprisingly. And I remember when Tara, I did my first one, and you guys were there, and I think my best time for the 5 at that stage was about 34 minutes or something, and we did 32 on that day. And then since then, I've just seemed to be around that 30, 31, 32. And, I did Cleveland pretty easy with a tumble, and I still got 32 even. So there's just it does breed consistency just going out there and just running with a group of people. So I'm really pleased that I finally got down there. So, hey, let's talk a little bit around the news, shall we? So, Tim, what's been happening around the world this week?
All right, I have a couple of stories to talk about this week. The first one is the Niagara Falls International Marathon. So it seems like an odd one. It's on October 27th this year. Starts and finishes on the Canadian side of the Niagara Falls, and it's an absolute stunning course running along the Niagara River. Why am I talking about that? Well, the news that's come out in recent weeks or so is that Tara on the podcast here, has been named as an ambassador for the event for this year, and it's an event that Team Ellis will be at. So congratulations, Tara, on becoming an ambassador for the event.
Thank you. I'm the only international ambassador too. Everyone else is from Canada, or there's one from the US. So I am the only international ambassador for Niagara Falls. Yeah,
That's quite cool.
So congratulations. What's involved with being an ambassador?
Okay, more running, obviously. If anyone would like to do the Niagara Falls Marathon, I'm happy to give you a code that can give you a discounted rate. Niagara Falls also do it as a virtual, so you can do a 5K, 10K, half marathon, or full marathon. They also do it as a virtual, which most overseas virtual runs, especially from the States, don't like to post you medals, but they will post you a medal for the cost of $45. So, however, if you do want a cheaper rate than that, yell out to me, send a message, and I can give you a discounted rate. If you are in the States, as Tim and I will be, and heading up to Canada in between Chicago and New York, I can also get you a discounted rate for an in-person marathon or half marathon or 5 or 10Ks. Yeah.
There you go. So that's the big news.
Also, I just promote that marathon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Congrats, Tara. That's well done.
Yeah. Well done. That's one lot of news. The next bit of news is I don't know if many of you are aware, but there's a lady called Jeannie Rice, and Jeannie Rice is a pretty special runner out there. She's 76 years old, and I know we've had Jennifer Kellett on the show in the past. I know one of Jen's biggest inspirations is Jeannie Rice. Well, this year Jeannie was at the London Marathon, and she smashed her own world record in the women's 75 to 79 year age group. She ran a marathon time at London of 3 hours, 33 minutes and 27 seconds, beating a previous world record by over a minute. She's not only won her 75 to 79 women's age category by over 30 minutes from her second place person, she would have also won the men's 75 to 79 age group category by 11 minutes. Her average pace at London was 5 minutes and 3 seconds per kilometre. And it's not her first world record. She's broken many world records in the past, but she's also still currently the holder of this women's 70 to 74 age group marathon time, with a world record time of 3 hours 27 and 50 seconds, which she set back in 2018 at the age of 70. She's not only the world record holder, she's also completed all 6 majors, and at all 6 majors where she's run, she's won her age category in all 6 majors. So that's a pretty inspirational effort and a pretty top class effort. And as I said, we've had Jen Kellett on the show in the past. Jen's an inspiration for a lot of people. Jeannie is Jen's inspirational runner. So pretty awesome effort, I reckon.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. And I can't even fathom doing that time at any age, let alone at
76.
It's
76. Yep. The last bit of news, which I haven't put on the run sheet there, but I did see the other day, the Sydney Marathon has sold out more than 80% of its marathon entries for this year. So, which is interesting. I didn't realise they had a cap on the numbers this year. I thought they would have still been looking for more entries. But the socials that came out this week were saying 80% sold. So get in and get your entries early. So anyone who is thinking of doing Sydney, like Lucia, get in and get it done early rather than miss out and be disappointed later on.
And if I can just add further to that, I've had some insight that apparently it may even sell out in the next couple of days.
Yep, wouldn't surprise me.
That's incredible. Now, Tim, I noticed one of your favourite runners, Desi Linden. Did she pick up 3rd in Boston?
She was the 3rd American.
Yeah,
the 3rd
that's right.
American woman. Yep.
And then another one of your favourite runners,
Tajista Sefa,
didn't win in London. Were you surprised by that?
I was actually. I was quite surprised that she didn't get there, but it was an absolute stunning finish, seeing the 5 girls, I think it was, all running together side by side down that road that takes you past St. James Park and the barracks before you turn right in front of Buckingham Palace. All 5 women were all side by side, jostling and trying to outrun one another. And then there was that kick with about 285 meters or whatever it is, 285 yards to go, that sign.
Yeah.
I can't remember the winner's name. She kicked off and held with her as best she can.
Yeah, Perez Jepchirchir. That's it.
Yeah, that's the one.
The Berlin medal that we got, Tim.
Ah, yes. Yeah. So, so I don't know. It must have been a bad day. But I know also that was a all-women's event. There were no men in the event pacing them. And I know in Berlin, when she just set that world record, she had men around her who were pacing her the whole way, and wondering whether or not that makes a difference or not, whether someone pacing you is better than just racing against other girls.
Yeah, well, it isn't the world record for an all-women's race, that time from Jepchirchir. 2:16.16. So that's the new women's race world record. So, all right. Let's talk about let's talk about Boston, because I reckon that's why we're here, isn't it? So, guys, let's just start off with the experience of Boston, the week or the days leading into it. And I know it really starts to pick up on the Thursday. You guys arrived on the Friday. I think, Lucia, correct me if I'm wrong, you were in town a little earlier, but how was the experience of Boston?
For me, one of the best marathon lead-ups ever, because everyone gets into it. Being on Patriots Day, everyone has the day off and actually encouraged to go out and to support the runners. But just the way how everyone gets into it, like the local stores, like all the local stores along Boylston have got the banners up. It was just, an such a surreal experience. I think the thing that got me on the Sunday, I went to blessing of the athletes at the church right near the finish line. It was packed, absolutely packed. And one thing they did was they got people up, like who had done like more than 20 stand up. Everyone starts clapping. Who was doing their first Boston, and so then a whole bunch of us got up. Everyone starts clapping. We were in tears because just the way that everyone gets into it. It's honestly like it makes you like. Now I can understand why Boston is so special. I knew it was always special, but after being there and seeing how the city gets so much into it, it's just a different level. Yeah, as I said, the best marathon, the best pre-lead to a marathon ever.
Tim
Yeah,
and
I
Tara?
guess we felt it on the Friday, didn't we, Tara? When we first arrived, we went to the Expo that day, and then we came out for a walk in the afternoon onto Boylston Street where we did one of our lives. And they'd just closed down the road. They were setting up the finish line, and there were just people en masse in that area, just walking up and down through the finishing chute, looking at the finish line. You knew it was a special place.
Yeah, it was like a party. So Marathon Sports, which is right outside the finish line there as well, they had live music. There was people everywhere. It was just like a big party zone. It was amazing. But the pop-up stores were crowded when we were in there. I didn't find them maybe as good as what you may have found them, Tony. The Expo wasn't too bad this year. It was
Interesting.
It was definitely not the best Expo, but it probably wasn't the worst either. So yeah.
Never been to an expo where there's people doing hair and makeup tutorials, and giving you free makeup and hair,
and female sanitary items.
And roofing solutions. Don't forget the roofing solutions.
Roofing solutions are always a must-to-have at a Runners Expo, and CBD oil vendors. So
yeah, we could also join the US Army or the US Navy or the Marines as well. So.
Or my dog too.
Yeah, all sorts of things.
What time did you get to the Expo, and were there massive lines of people queuing?
Well, I dragged poor Tara and Tim, so they got in Friday morning. Yeah. And I dragged them to the Expo straight away. So we got there at about 9:30. The Expo didn't open until 11. I'm going to tell a story, Tara. I'm going to tell it. So we were in a good spot because we went the back way from our hotel. So they let us in early. We were probably in the first 20 people, Tim, you reckon?
Yeah, at least. I'd say even first 10. Yep.
So we thought, okay, sweet, we'll wait. And then Tara sees a whole bunch of people walking. She goes, I'm going to suss it out. We're like, all right, we're not moving, you go. So she goes, she calls us over. None of us go. And then she calls Tim. Tim goes. And then Tim calls us over. So we all follow. Tara thinks she's found like an even better way. Unfortunately, we were led around the garden path. We back to the way we came in, and we were at the back of the queue. But in Tara's defense, like once it opened at 11, we actually didn't wait long. It actually did move quite fast. So the moral of the morning was don't follow Tara.
I just got up a friggin' really long flight, guys. Come on.
The back way is always the best way. So
I wasn't moving. I'm like, well, we're not going anywhere. These guys are moving.
But we did meet some amazing volunteers, and it was really good because even the volunteers have to apply to be a volunteer.
Truly.
Yeah. Yep. So it was great meeting some volunteers and just chatting with them about why they do it. One lady does it every year. She takes annual leave because she just loves the atmosphere.
Yeah, the atmosphere is amazing, and that was what I was seriously missing when I'm seeing some of the lives and I'm seeing the stuff that's happening in Boston. Shakeout runs, did you see any of those massive shakeout runs that happen mainly out of Newbury Street? So
Tim and I can't remember which shakeout run we were on, that we saw one group and they were taking over the whole entire street. Now, the streets weren't closed off at this point in time. There was cars that were still allowed to be driving on them, but they just couldn't because the amount of people that were doing a shakeout run with one group. I have no idea which group it was. Maybe Believe in the Run, I think it may have been, Tim.
I'm not sure.
But it was massive. It was a huge, huge group of people. We did the Boston 5K race as well, and Lucia did that with us as well. There you go. She's got the medal. So we were lucky enough to get an entry into that one. There was only 10,000 places. Am I correct in saying that?
I think so, yeah.
Yep. We had to get up at 1 o'clock in the morning to register for it. But the support on course for a 5K run was as good as what it was for the marathon day, if not better. So, and there was lots of dogs to pat as well.
Yeah, the 5K day is a really special day. And what was the T-shirt like this year for the 5K?
So the 5K, yeah, exactly the same as what, if you can see what I'm wearing now, except short sleeve and a peachy colour instead of blue. So really nice technical shirt.
Yeah.
Lovely. It's same material, really worth.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll wear it next week, Tony.
Yeah. It's,
if I can just add, the guest you had on a few weeks ago, Mr. Robert Wang, his tip of getting your T-shirt before the 5K starts paid off because you've got more chance of getting your size. So a future tip for anyone that's listening that does the Boston, when you do the 5K, get your T-shirt before the start of the run.
Yeah, just carry it with you.
Yeah.
And the organisation of the 5K run, I did hear some complaints that once again, it's more or less a self-seeding sort of a thing, isn't it? And some of the faster runners that want to go and chase a PB in a race with 10,000 other people, don't know how that works anyway. There was a couple of little complaints made by them online that I can see, but it's a 5K race with 10,000 runners. You're not going to run a PB unless you're right up the front. So
they didn't do a very good job of funneling people into the starting corral. So it's held in Boston Common, and they push everyone down to one corner of the common where you do a 90-degree left-hand turn into the starting chute area. And I think what they're trying to do is get everyone to go up to the other end of the park to then come down a long walkway into that corner. But everyone was funneling into that one corner. There wasn't enough signage telling people what to do. So people are trying to jump over barriers or through barriers to get into it. So that was probably the biggest complaint out of the lot. Other than that, it was a great day to go for a run. It was perfect running conditions. And look, at the end of the day, it's a 5K run before a marathon on the Monday. I get that there's a lot of locals that's their only run that they're doing for the weekend. They're not doing the marathon, but it's a shakeout run for probably 70% of the people that are there.
Yeah.
It's not about fast times. It's just about having fun. And that's what it was about.
Yeah. Soaking up the atmosphere. And it sounds like they did exactly the same in the year that 2023. So trying to get everyone down the stretch. And everyone's just funneling into the quickest. It's, the path of least resistance, so to speak. So that was Saturday. So then Sunday's a bit of a funny day marathon-wise because most of the majors, all the majors bar Boston are run on the Sunday. So you normally do that 5K the day before, whereas in Boston you get that Sunday in between. So tell me about Sunday. I mean, no doubt there would have been a carb load dinner with Travelling Fit. So what did you get up to on the Sunday?
So Sunday morning we did a 5K. Oh, no, it was about 7Ks, I think it was, just a shakeout run with the Travelling Fit crew. Lucia actually had a special one that was held with our hotel, and it was just for the 6-star finishes. So she got to do a special 6-star finisher ShakeOut run. So she missed our travelling fit one. But yeah, it's I don't know how far you went with that one, Luch.
I only did. I think I went to 5K, and then I turned back. It was spoke with some very interesting people. Let's put it that way. Sometimes you think, okay, like with us paying travelling fit, to me, it's worth the money. But people met some people that had to raise money for charity, $10,000 US.
Yeah.
And one lady said her husband banned her from asking friends.
Oh,
Wow.
That makes it hard.
So her friends put on a special 5K event, so she was able to raise a lot of money that way. So really, in the scheme of it, you think like paying a tour operator and helping to support a local business, to me, definitely worth it.
Yeah.
And I got another T-shirt.
Yeah. The interesting thing that you talk to there, Lucia, is the fact that either way you've got to make an investment. So whether it's through raising funds, doing the work to get the qualifying time, or creating a relationship with a travel company, and the relationship is critical, because you just can't go to any of the sports travel companies and the year before Boston say, I want to do Boston, and you're a first time guest. You're going to go into that travel company's ballot as almost like a blow-in, whereas people who use that travel company consistently are what they call priority clients in most of them, or VIP clients, and they get I won't say an easier path, because they still go into the ballot, but ultimately there may be more opportunities in that ballot. So I agree. There's an investment, and I don't begrudge the money that Sharon and I paid to Travelling Fit to do what we did. So I feel
but it must be painful if you are a back of the packer and you live in North America, because there aren't North American travel companies that take you to Boston. So the only way you can get in is qualify, which you're probably never going to do, or through a charity, and that's the price of the charity entries. It's a tough way to get in, but if you want that, that's what you have to do. But hopefully they'll fix that with this new major. If it's Sydney, then guess what? That will make it a lot easier for people to get their 6 stars. If that's what they ultimately do, is you only have to get 6 of the 7 to get your 6-star medal.
Interestingly, sorry, Tara.
Sorry, I was just going to say the good thing is that with raising money for a charity, it is going to a charity as well. So they may sit there and say, yep, you've got to raise this amount of money, but at least it's going to something that is worthwhile. Not saying that Travelling Fit's not worthwhile, because they certainly are for me. Like, I'm definitely, as Lucia said, I'm more than happy to pay them. But those that have raised money for the charity, it is going to a really worthwhile course as well. So
100%. Interestingly, Sharon and I went in the London ballot this year for next year. Just to see what it's like, just to get that rejection letter and say woohoo.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, there was 824,000 people in the ballot for London next year.
That's about 300,000 more than this year, I think. I think this year only got about 550,000. So
580, I think, if I read correctly. So it's a huge increase. And they're going for the world record next year of participants in a major race. So 824,000, and Sharon and I are one entry in the international ballot. So not expecting anything, and, knowing our luck, one of us will get it and then the other person won't. So don't know what we're going to do, but anyway, it was
I think I'm up to ballot rejection number 7 or 8 for London, but then I know people who have gotten in the first time. So it is honestly potluck.
of the draw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just want to see what it's like. So I'll probably put my hand in the ring for New York next year too, just to see what that ballot's like. So anyway, hey, so Monday dawns. It's marathon day, and that 5 o'clock that morning, we were recording a podcast at that time with Stephen and Kim Tudjman, all about the London Marathon, which was just a lovely chat with two of our marathon mates. But you guys would have been feeling a little bit of a different 5 a.m. So walk us through marathon day. So what time did you get up? What time did you get the bus? What time did you get out there? What did you think of the start area? I need it all.
So look, I was actually really, really confident. My training had been absolutely on point. I was feeling amazing. I woke up feeling fantastic. I can't remember what time we woke up. What was it, Tim? Maybe 5:30? I don't know.
5:30, 6 o'clock, somewhere around there.
Tim was like a kid on Christmas morning. From 2 o'clock in the morning, he was bouncing around in the bed, and I'm like, "Can you stop?" He goes, "We're running a marathon today." I'm like, "Tim, it's not your first one. Just settle down, dude." He was like a kid on Christmas morning, so I don't think I
But
probably
it's Boston. It's Boston. We got to run Boston today.
So we ended up, I think, getting up at about 5 because I was just sick and tired of him bouncing around in the bed. Ate some food, did our normal bits and pieces. I think we're out at the bus by 7, maybe meeting traveling.
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock we had to be
8 o'clock.
downstairs.
So we met
our
the
bus was 9.
crew at 8 o'clock, walked down to the Boston Common by 9. We were hyped. Lucia was quiet, and she said she wasn't nervous, but she wasn't her normal chatty self. And I'm feeling confident as go to the toilet, get on the bus. Just had enough time in the starting area to sort of take some photos and then head down to the actual proper start line.
Excellent. So, Lucia, what was going through your mind on a Monday morning?
I think because I was so focused on the goal and I only had one plan. The plan was under 6 hours, and that was it. Because, as Tara mentioned, I've been quieter surprisingly, but I think because it was just like taking it all in and thinking, okay, I've done the work. I just have to believe. I just need to trust my gut and to stick with my plan. Yeah. So because I lost Tara and Tim at the Common, they went to the bathroom, and my friend Julie and I, we kept going. So I didn't see them after that point. So we got on the bus, and as per usual, any time that I've done a marathon in which you have to take a bus to the start line, I fall asleep. It just happens. Get to the start area, and you think, and then you see the sign welcome athletes. You're like, holy Jesus, it's actually happening. And you're just walking through. You think, like I was a bit underwhelmed with the start area. I'm like, is this it? Like when you compare it to New York, it's completely different. And then queued for a Portaloo. That was interesting. Took some photos in front of the signs, and then very similar to Tara and Tim. After that, didn't have much time. Tailgated it through to the starting corrals. Saw Mr. Robert Wang, so I had a photo with him, and I just kept thinking to myself, I'm actually doing this. I'm actually doing it, and I kept thinking, I just have to. I've done the training. Similar to Tara, training couldn't have gone any better. So it was just a celebration of the day. So yeah, I was at one point I'm like, let's just get over the start line because as we started walking, as we were getting closer to the start line, people started running. I'm like, no, I am not running until I cross the start line.
Yeah.
It is funny, isn't it, when you get on that bus, just realizing how far you're about to run. And I think everyone, when they're sitting on that bus, is contemplating how long that bus ride is. It is an hour-long bus ride. You go right out through Boston, way out on the highway somewhere, and then they swing round and into Hopkinton where the start line is. And it is just a long journey that you're sitting there going, this is a long run we're going to be in for today. But, the whole school bus thing, that's a unique thing to Boston. I haven't seen the school buses before, and it was good to get on one. We had the best driver, Miss Caitlin. We were talking to her the whole way, and she's the normal school bus driver for that bus, and that's, I don't know how many Bostons she's driven out there for, but quite a
That was
few in the
six.
past.
Yeah, that
6.
was
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's great. Very well organised. You arrive in Boston Common. They funnel you into buses. Lots of security. I've never seen snipers at the start line, and there's snipers on the roof of the buildings around the starting area there. Lots of security in Boston Common, making sure that people have got nothing on them that can cause damage to other people. So felt very safe the whole time, but very conscious of where you were in the past history of that race, I guess, as well.
Yeah, yeah. And school buses are not the most comfortable seats, and they're not air conditioned. So it was a warmer day. So based on experiences of Boston, weather plays a role. Most Bostons, and unfortunately, you got what they would call a warm day. So, how was the bus trip out on hard seats in an unair conditioned bus and a warm day? And you're still reminiscing and saying it was actually quite a nice trip. So,
Yeah, no, it was good. I didn't really notice the heat or anything like that at that point, I guess. But
Likewise.
the race itself, it would have been 23, 24 degrees when we started, and then it sort of peaked around 27, 28 degrees during the race.
yeah,
Probably an hour or two after we started. So it was definitely a warm one. We, I know Tara and we got burnt, and we didn't put any sunscreen on under our shirts because we're thinking, oh well, it's Boston, it's not going to get too hot. Don't need the sunscreen like we normally would here in Queensland. And we got burnt. I'm still peeling on my back now from it 2 weeks later. So
I still have
it
tan
was a hot
marks.
one.
Sorry,
And,
Luke.
I still have tan marks.
Yeah.
truly, wow.
Yep.
All right, so then let me just bring this up, Lou. So you cross the start line, and Tim, you cross the start line at, it's not on my computer, so I've got to look this up.
Exactly the same time as Tara.
Yes, you did, and you always do. So I'm just going to talk amongst yourselves while I do this. So Tara,
Hopkinton's a beautiful little town too. What we saw of it,
Stunning houses.
yeah.
So you started at 11:22 and 31 seconds, which was, 7 minutes after the 11:15 gun. And then you, Lucia, crossed at 11:23:21, which was 8 minutes after the 11:15 start of your wave. And Mr. Robert Wang, as he exclusively revealed on our podcast episode with us, that he was aiming to be the last starter, and he crossed the start line at 11:27 and 38 seconds.
Thank God he did.
Officially. So,
yeah.
So the first 5K is, I think, net downhill at Boston. How are you feeling?
It didn't feel net downhill. I
Yeah.
I can honestly admit I underestimated the course because someone that has run Boston previously said to me, if you've done City to Surf, Boston's going to be a breeze. So I still did a lot of hill training, but I wish I would have done maybe different type of hill training or maybe more hill training because, yeah, how anyone can get a net downhill on that first part, no idea.
So it is a net downhill, but it's very undulating and it's consistent rolling hills. So even though it is a net downhill, there is still the uphills that you go up to get down again. So I can see where Lucia is coming from on that one. So our first 5Ks, I always feel amazing in the first 5Ks on a marathon. You feel bulletproof, everything's going perfect. So it was hot. Yeah, we were pacing exactly where we should have been.
Yeah, pace was exactly where we wanted, but it was hard to keep a consistent pace because 1 minute you'd be going down a hill and your legs would want to go quicker, and the next minute you'd be going up a hill and you'd be slowing it back and then going down. So for those first 5 to 7 kilometers, we did find it was hard to keep a consistent pace, but generally overall, we were doing it easily, which is where we wanted to be, and it was at
Yeah.
an overall pace that was where we wanted to be at that
Yeah.
time.
And the crowds for that
At
first
Hopkin-
5?
At
How'd you
Hopkinton,
find-
they were huge. They were
Yeah.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. There's so many people just yelling and screaming, but it was like that along the whole course, I found. The problem I found, though, is there's 7 or 8 towns you run through. So Hopkinton being the first, and then you go through wherever they are, Newton, Wellesley,
Yeah.
Natick, etc., etc. But between those, there were gaps where there was no crowds or very little crowds, and then you'd hit a town and it'd be just lined 4 or 5 people deep of crowds, and then nothing for a little while.
Yeah.
So it was a bit hit and miss. Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking about the runners. How
the running
crowded
crowds.
was the race? Yeah.
At the beginning for the first 5Ks, yeah, it was very crowded.
Yeah.
Which once again just makes it really challenging to get into your routine. And so at the end of 5, Tim and Tara sitting at a 33-minute first 5, and Lucia, you were at 38 minutes. So, bang spank where you both needed to be. So, which was awesome. So then something happened between the 5K and I guess almost the 10K, or no, even the 10K. So Lucia, you're at 118, and the Team Ellis duo were at 107. So almost an exact replica of your 5.
Yep.
Rolling into your 10, and then just my own personal story. I've woken up at 5 o'clock on that Tuesday, and you guys had passed all 3 of you had crossed the halfway or half marathon, and I look at the times, and Team Ellis were at 2:34, and I'm thinking, well, that's where they probably expect to be. And then I saw Lucia at 2:50, and I'm saying, yes, she's right on pace. And I'm thinking to myself, she'll break 6, and the Team Ellis will do it easy. But somewhere in between that 10 and the half, something happened, because after the half, I'm sitting here tapping my phone, and why isn't Team Ellis moving as quickly as what they were? And then I saw Lucia pass, and I'm thinking, good on Lucia, but what's happened to Team Ellis? And then I see Robert Wang, who was the official last starter, pass you, and I'm thinking, oh no, what's going on?
Because I had no expectation of seeing Tara and Tim on course. I was not planning on seeing them, because obviously they run a lot faster than me. So I'm like, okay, at the start, it's like, okay, guys, see you at the end, happy days. But then I saw Tim. It was kind of on halfway up a hill from memory. I'm like, okay, this isn't good. And then I could see Tara bending over. I'm like, okay, definitely not good. And then Tim explained what had happened, and I don't think Tara remembers me speaking to her at all. At that point, I had ice down the front of my top. So I took ice out, and then I put it down the back of Tara, and then I kept on going, because as much as I would have loved to have stayed, but it was one of those races that I had to focus on my race. But I'm like, all the time, I'm like, crap, the fact that I caught up to them, it wasn't a good sign for them.
Yeah. So Tara, before we hear all about the Wellesley Scream tunnels and all the things that people talk about, what happened? It was, were you patting too many dogs? Were you? What was the story?
I wish it was just as easy as patting too many dogs. I did a stupid thing, and I drank electrolytes on course, which I have not trained with. So my stomach can handle certain things when I run, and I know that we've talked about this on the podcast before. Due to the heat, I took Gatorade on course. Gatorade obviously does not agree with my stomach. So that came up at around about 12 Ks in. And I thought, okay, that's just one hit. I'm okay. So I took some shot blocks, which I'm okay with, and some water. kept running, and I was sort of on and off to about the halfway point. So I was still managing okay up until the halfway point, where I was, as you could see from my times, it was not too bad. After the Wellesley Screen Tunnel, everything fell apart, like literally fell apart. So the nutrition that I had taken in had decided that that wasn't going to sit in there. And every kilometre I was fertilising the plants along the course, unfortunately. So every bit of nutrition I took in from K12 came back out. Every little bit of water that I had from K12 came back out. So I ran the rest of the marathon with no nutrition, no water, in the heat of 27, 28 degrees. We saw Danielle Danielle is from Travelling Fit. We saw her at 32 Ks at the top of Newton Hill.
34
Ks. She saw me on the side of the road. Tim turned around and looked behind us and saw the cut-off car 100 metres behind us. And at that point, Tim's just like, Tara, the car is like right there behind us. And I'm just like, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden it's just like, I've got to finish this. And it just like set something off in my brain. And I just went. It certainly was not fast and it was not pretty. Yeah. Tim's probably got a better recollection because I really don't remember. And I did something really stupid where I didn't listen to my body. And I keep telling everybody, listen to your body, don't do stupid things. I did the stupid thing. So Tim's got a better recollection of what happened than I do.
Yeah, so I think what happened was there was a combination of the later start and not having enough nutrition in your system from the night before and the morning of. So typically we have a light meal on a race day in the morning, in the breakfast, because we start our marathons at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. So a light meal is what you want. You don't want a heavy meal in your gut. But starting later on in the day, I think if we had a bit more nutrition in the bodies, it would have helped. The second was the heat, then led to more sweating, more exhaustion from Tara, which meant she wanted some electrolyte to replace some of the sweating that she was and the salt she was losing, and a combination of not having fuel in the system and a combination of the electrolyte going in not being gut friendly for Tara. It's come out, caused those issues. You're right. We got to the halfway point and we were still on track. You'd been sick 3 or 4 times up to that point, but we'd kept on track with our timing and where we wanted to be. But it was 22, 23 kilometers where Tara started to really do more walking than running, and it would be not 1 kilometer but multiple kilometers of walking and shuffling and stopping. And then we hit the Newton Hills, which is the 4 hills with culminating in Heartbreak Hill. And Tara's zigzagging over the hills, going left and right, trying to focus on how to get up these hills. I'm grabbing her by the arm and dragging her up over the hills to get her up and over. And then, once we got up to the top, that's when we saw the car, and Tara was just in a zombie state, just focusing on the road ahead as best she could and trying to shuffle and keep going. We got to about 10 Ks to go at 32 kilometers. And we were running at that point at about 10.5-minute kilometers. And we only had, in my mind, about 80 minutes left at 10 Ks to go, which meant we had to run at 8-minute pace to be able to get to the finish on time. So I knew we were in real trouble. I kept telling Tara that, but she just couldn't process it. Her mind was in that way. It was only when we hit the top of Heartbreak Hill, we saw Danielle and 7 or 8 kilometers to go at that point, and we saw the car behind us that something triggered in Tara's mind to keep going. But very proud of Tara for getting through it, but it was probably the scariest I've ever seen Tara get to passing out and absolutely needing medical assistance. It was offered to her a number of times on the course by the medics and by members of the public, and she kept turning them away. I kept turning them away, and we got there. The good news is we finished, and we were an official finisher. We beat the cutoff. We beat it by 4 seconds. And according to Robert Wang, we were the 3rd and the 4th last finishers for the marathon. The second and the last finisher were literally only 2 and 1 second, or 2 and 3 seconds behind us. So we're very lucky, very fortunate. We beat your record from last year of 76 seconds, but 4 seconds is something that I don't want to ever do again. I don't want to ever get that close to a cutoff. But very proud of Tara because she had no idea where she was going, but the training obviously kicked in, the muscle memory kicked in, and the legs just kept turning over, even though the brain and the rest of the body didn't know what was happening. She was off in a completely different planet, but was able to keep going and keep moving forward.
Yeah, it was such an interesting thing tracking you guys because, going through the Newton Hills and looking at some of your times, and these are minute per miles, at the 20-mile mark, you were 17:08 minute for the last sector. There was a 19-minute mile there at the, and then all of a sudden it seems like you got up the top, something kicked in. So you've explained that. And then all of a sudden you're back doing 12-minute miles, 13-minute miles. And then I mentioned to you that when I saw you come into that famous turn right, turn left scenario into Ballston, I'm looking at, because I knew what time Robert had started, and I'm looking at where you were, and I'm just thinking, oh no, they're not going to make it. Then all of a sudden, you guys must have bolted down Ballston Street because to see all of a sudden, I'm thinking, oh shit, they're not going to make it, and all of a sudden you're there, and it's wow. So my big question is, did you notice when Robert Wang passed you at all? So you had no idea he was in front?
No. I was focused on Tara, and I was probably for the last 7 or 8 kilometers, I was probably running 20 meters in front of Tara for most of the way, just for her to focus on and to try and catch me. And it's like, come on, Tara, catch me. Come on, keep going. And she was just focusing on trying to catch me. And I think that was why we were able to keep going. I didn't focus on anybody else or anyone passing us. We did come across other traveling fit people. We came across Catherine Potter, who was also struggling in the heat. I offered her some water that we were carrying at some stage, that somebody had given me a drink bottle of water, given her some, bit like what Lucia did to Tara. I tried to help her as best I could, but I couldn't sacrifice our race for her either. And then Trudy Needs as well was out there as well, and she was also out there struggling as well. But I feel bad for them, and there's probably 1,000 other runners behind us that finished but didn't make the cutoff. But fortunately this year they were given medals because they finished, but they're just not official finishes and don't get the official star for it. So it was good that they allowed the race to stay open. I think you mentioned last week or in one of the previous episodes that towards the back of the pack they close up the road, they start taking water off, they close down the timing mats. We definitely saw that the timing mats had been reduced down to only half the lane of the road, not the full width of the road.
Well, even there was drink. She was in front of us, so she even got that.
Yep. There were drink stations there towards the end that didn't have water at all on them. We were fortunate because somebody did hand us a drink bottle, and we just carried the drink bottle with us, and where we could filled it up. And I just kept Tara running. It meant she didn't have to stop at any drink station. She just kept running. But yeah, that last 400 or 500 meters down Ballston Street, I just grabbed Tara and just dragged her along, and we just got lifted by the crowd and the support and trying to push as quickly as we could because I knew it was going to be close. I knew our watches had ticked over 6 hours, and it was just a matter of were we going to be under or over, and I knew it would only be maybe seconds or a minute that we'd be under or above. So pushed as hard as we could down that final straight, and thankfully we did, and the rest is history. We came in just in the nick of time.
In all honesty, I don't really remember much from probably the Wellesley Scream Tunnel onwards, unfortunately. So Boston may have been the most beautiful course in the world, and I would not be able to tell you that. I do remember turning onto Hereford, and there's actually a hill there. On Hereford.
It's uphill.
That part I do remember. And I remember Tim grabbing my hand, but apart from that, there's not a lot of memory going on there for me. But Lucia, you would have some really good memories of going up there and moving it.
It was, like the famous ride. You think, okay, it's actually happening, and then when you see the convention centre where the expo is up the top, you're like, okay, I just have to turn left because I started running with one of the other ladies from Travelling Fit, but then I started getting a stitch on Boylston. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me, aren't you? And so I said to her, just go, because I had to play around with my run walk. And then I checked my race time, and at that point I'm like, I can actually get a PB here. So I think I had about 2 minutes to go, 2 or 3 minutes to get the PB, and only a couple of 100 meters. I'm going for it because as I crossed the finish, this lady, she goes, I've been kind of going with you most of the race, and we kind of crossed together, but it was just magical running down Boylston, having the crowd cheer for you. The thing that got me was being pretty much at the end, how many people were still there supporting? And you don't see that in a lot of majors. Like the stands were packed because I came in, I think, at 5:16 p.m. But yet the stands both sides were absolutely packed. So I think that's the one big thing that I really appreciated was how long people stayed for and supported, because I thought I was going to cry crossing the finish line. I thought, yeah, that's it. Like, tears are happening. But I think because I got the trifecta, became a Boston marathoner, got my 6-star and got the PB, it was just a sense of excitement and seeing so many people there, like with the biggest smiles on their faces as we crossed the finish line. Probably one of the best finishes of a race.
Yeah. And Lucia, when I look at your pacing, so consistent all the way through. So how did you find the Newton Hills?
I'm conscious it's a family-friendly show, but it was not very nice. I think the thing that helped me was I had a pace. So I had 2 pace bands. I had one on my wrist, which had about splits for every 2Ks, and that had me coming in at 5:59. Then the other thing I had printed out was splits for every K. So literally, each time I saw a K marker, I'd take out my little piece of paper. I knew where I had to be. At one point, I was 12 minutes ahead of where I had to be, but then I could feel myself slow down in the walk part, so I'd try and make up for it. Sorry, I could feel myself slow down in the run part, so then I'd make up for it in the walk part. So I think that's what helped me, knowing that, having those 2 pieces of paper, knowing where I had to be at each point.
Yeah. Just so well done. Just I look at your times, and so what was your PB? What was the official time for you in Boston?
Official time at 5:52:39. I beat my PB by 1 minute and 1 second, something like that.
That is so
ironic.
Cool.
Ironic, my first major and my last major are my 2 best marathon times.
Yeah, it was so awesome. And I stirred you up a little bit by sending you a message after watching you crossing the finish line, because just to see that emotion, and then you've clapped your hands 5 or 6 times, you were that just, I've done it.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I've done it. I couldn't have been any happier that day.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. And so let's talk a little bit. So the good news was that everyone got a medal, which is something that didn't happen the year that Sharon and I did it, but we won't talk about that.
And on top of that, not only did everyone get a medal, if you ran Boston and missed the cutoff and were going for your 6-star, as long as you got to the Abbott's tent before they packed up at the end of the day, they still awarded you a 6-star medal. It just won't count as an official one on the wall. So it's an interesting one that they did that, but I think it's valid. At the end of the day, they've run the distance, they've run the course, they've run the race, they've done the 6 majors. But they just won't be counted on the official wall. So it's probably a debate for another time, but at least I think it's great for those people who put the effort in on a hard slog. They were going for their 6-star and they got rewarded with a 6-star.
Yeah, it is a discussion that we probably need to have at some stage, because I personally not sure how I feel about that. I agree with you that, at the end of the day, everyone that crosses that finish line has finished the Boston Marathon, and the cutoff is an administrative thing. Let's be honest, So it's when Boston, the BAA, say that's it. So I get all that, but I won't dive into it. But
No.
let's And the interesting thing when I watched the final video of the Team Ellis crossing, you can see the two ladies right behind you, and I think one beat it by 1 second, and then one was right on the cutoff. And there's a guy 2 paces behind them, and he missed the cutoff by 2 seconds. He's not an official finisher. The two ladies are the last two. And it was just the difference is minuscule when it comes down to it, isn't it? And
it's gut wrenching.
It is, and to see that. So, all right. So we've talked a fair bit about everything that's gone on. Now, the most important thing that we've got to talk about is the after party. What was that like, Tara? I'm presuming you made a show and then excused yourself and looked after yourself. So Lucia and Tim, what was the after party, or what were the celebrations like?
Well, I actually went back to the hotel with Tara because I was up for a massive night. I'm like, yeah, no, that's it. It's going to be a wild party in Boston. But I think I got to the point, like Tara said, oh, I'm going to head back. I'm like, do you know what? I've had a really good night. I'm just going to end it now.
We did stay up until about 9 o'clock. So that's not a Tara thing to do. Normally it's like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. But look, 9 o'clock is a pretty reasonable effort after what I'd been through for the day. Did actually, I think Lucia got me a slider and I ate half of it. So, yeah, I was all right.
It was a great party. Traveling Fit know how to, they definitely know how to celebrate.
It was a good venue. It's a local pub that they took us to with their own standalone room, so we had the room to ourselves. I made it till the very end. I got kicked out of 2 pubs. I got kicked out of that pub with Danielle and Nicole from Traveling Fit and our good mate Simon, who's run many of these marathons in the past. So the 4 of us got kicked out of the first pub. We went back to the Western Hotel. We had a beer there and got kicked out of there. They closed it up. And we were able to continue drinking our beer out in the lobby area, or our drinks out in the lobby area, until 1 a.m. So we finished up at 1 a.m. And we're the last one standing. So there you go. It's a common thing. Simon and myself and Tara are normally the last one standing with the Traveling Fit crew. And we kept up the tradition this year. So
no, you did. I didn't.
We're a team, Tara. We're a team. I took it for the team.
All right. So let's talk about post-marathon then. So we've got a really good sense of what the marathon was like for all 3 of you, and congratulations, you're all Boston finishers. And as I always say, sometimes your preparation can be spot on, and it just takes one thing to be out of whack, and you can have a really bad day. And unfortunately, that's what happened with Team Ellis. But when I say that, a really bad day that ended up being really good because you knocked over through the cutoff. And then, of course, we had the other side with Lucia just having almost a spot-on day, just focused, timely, just consistent in her splits, and it was just awesome to see. So all up, congratulations. But what happened after? So you were still in Boston for a while, and then I don't really want to talk about Vegas, but because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah.
But so what did you get up to the days after the marathon?
So the 3 of us and a few others, we went off to Fenway Park the day after the marathon and watched the Red Sox play a baseball game, which was a really exciting game. It went for an extra 2 innings. Boston Red Sox just lost in the end to the Cleveland Guardians. So we did that. We all went out to the Cheers Bar in Boston and had dinner there as well with all of us. Tara and we did the Freedom Trail walk around the historic locations around Boston, which was quite good. And on the Wednesday, so 2 days afterwards, we included the Bunker Hill Memorial Obelisk, which has 294 stairs to the top. So with our sore-tired marathon legs, we walked up the top of that obelisk and had a look over the Bunker Hill and Boston area. And of course, there was lots of other things. We went and celebrated the Boston Tea Party and threw tea overboard on one of the ships there. And
Huzzah!
huzzah! Yes, hurrah! And we drank plenty of Samuel Adams 26.2 special brew beer that they made just for the marathon, which is a very yummy beer. So we had a lot of fun. Boston's a great city. Very easy to get around. The people are friendly. Pretty city. Just easy to just sit there and lose a couple of days and just enjoy yourself. It's a great place.
But Lucia got something very special after her marathon.
So I had a few days in Boston as well, did some food walking tours, but then I went to New York for a week. And Tara and Tim know I don't do things normally. Well, I don't do normal things. So in Times Square, you can pay to have a picture on a billboard in Times Square, and I did it. So it appeared for 15 seconds, once an hour for a 24-hour period. And
wow.
And then it turned out the view I had from my hotel overlooked Times Square, and I could see the billboard.
Oh,
well. So I first got up, I think, because it was happening Friday morning. It was happening Friday US time. So I got up, I think it was about 5 to 6. I'm like, okay, sweet, in 10 minutes, the picture's going to come up. So I waited in my room, saw it, I'm like, oh my God. And then I went outside for the one at 7:05. I saw it like about half a dozen times, took photos, videos, but to see my face holding my 6-star medal plastered in Times Square was some of the best money I've spent. It was an absolute hoot.
That's a Lucia thing to do.
Yeah.
And the money that Lucia spent on that, we went to Vegas. So
all right, that is awesome, and that's something that they can never ever take away from you, Lucia. So that was awesome.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm needing to wind up. I've just looked at the time, and but as always, before we finish up, we always get a tip from Tim. Now,
not always. We get a Tony's tip.
I must say, Tony's tip, how well received were they? Can I tell you? But anyway, it's back to Tim's tip. So, Tim, what's your tip for the week?
All right. So the tip this week is a poignant one for Tara and myself and Lucia, I guess. Whenever you race, it always takes a toll on your body. It always creates micro tears in your muscles. So the tip this week is to always start back slowly after a race and really just take your time getting back into running to avoid that injury. So going hard too early will lead those tears to become bigger problems and lead to increased risk of injury and ongoing pain. So you must get your body right first, and that just means taking it nice and easy. Nice, easy jogs, nice, easy runs, no load on them, no stress, and just build up the pace and the distance slowly over the first couple of weeks while you're getting back into it. But it's important that you also do your body maintenance stuff. So your remedial massages, your stretching, your cross-training, all those sort of things to continue to help your body and your muscles to recover from the race. So that's really my tip this week is if you've done a race like what we've done, just to start back slowly. Don't go back in and try and hit a 5K PB in week 1 of your training program. It's not going to happen. Just take it easy.
Unless you run your first park run, and then maybe it does happen. So, but
maybe.
Anyway, hey, Lucia, good tips?
Not so much. I just want to kind of end it on this note. It was being a pack of the Packer runner, being able to achieve a 6-star, as you know, Tony. It's such a surreal experience. But to share it with friends and good friends like Tara and Tim, they were so supportive on the day, considering what Tara had went through. She kept on saying, "I'm so proud. I'm so proud." So for me, having them there, it couldn't have topped the experience anymore.
Yeah. And I think everyone that knows you, Lucia, was very, very proud of your effort and obviously the focus and the preparation that you had for that 6-star. and I'd still just enjoy looking at your finish video, and I might try and put it for the people on the video that watch this on a video format. I have sneakily downloaded those videos, and I might just get your little snippets, all finish line, and put them right at the end. So if you're listening to this all the way through to here, go check us out on YouTube or on Spotify and watch the video, because I'll put those finishing videos in there so you can see Lucia clap 6-7 times as she's going across the finish line. It is beautiful. So, all right, guys, we're just about to close her off. But before we do, Tara, what's on next week?
I don't know, because I didn't read the run sheet, and Tim has it with him at the place, so you might have to pass it over to Tim. Sorry.
So Tim, what's happening next
So for
week?
those that don't, for those that don't know that are listening, Tara and I are not in the same place at the moment. We're not going through marital problems. I'm just traveling for work, and I now live on the Gold Coast Monday to Friday, and Tara lives in Brisbane. But on next week's show, Tara and I are going off to talk about our next running challenge, and that is the Gold Coast Double, or in our case, it's the Gold Coast Triple. So we can talk about what we're going to do and how we're going to train for that. We'll talk with Tony about what he's also going to be doing in his lead up to the Gold Coast Marathon. But more importantly, we're also going to talk about what's involved in doing multiple races on consecutive days. So the Gold Coast Triple is 3 races in 2 days. We'll talk about how we're going to train for that over the leading of the next few months. And we'll talk about how we recover from those events each of the days we're doing it, so that we can back up again the next day as well. So we can't wait to share our experiences. We've done multi-day races a couple of times now. We've got some tips and tricks that work, and we're going to show you that it's not that big a deal to race 2 big races or 3 big races in a couple of days. So, stay tuned for next week.
Absolutely. And we see more and more people. There was 26 6-star finishers in London who had run the Boston Marathon. So they had more than 26 overall, of course. But there was 26 that achieved their 6-star because they had fulfilled their 5th with Boston, and then 6 days later ran London. Now, remiss of me, I haven't mentioned this yet, but Lucia, as you may be aware, everyone sort of gets a number of when they have got their 6-star medal, and by my reckoning, you are number 424 Australian to get the 6-star, and the 175th Australian woman to get the 6-star medal. So congratulations.
Yay!
Well done.
I was trying to look for that info before, and I couldn't find it. So thank you, Tony.
So just give you the heads up, before Boston, there was 389 Aussies that had achieved it, 229 male, 161 female. After Boston, there was 428 who had achieved their 6-star, 251 male, 177 female. So you were 175 and 424th. And I've now got to keep track of these before we hit New York, so it makes it easier to get through everything, right? So after London, we're now sitting at 445 Aussies with the 6-star. So fantastic news. So thank you everyone for popping by. Tim, Tara, of course, and Lucia, wonderful sharing your story.
Pleasure.
The good, the bad, and the downright ugly is what we could probably call this episode around the Boston. Tara, you've said it many, many times. It's finished lines, not finished times, and you were absolutely true to your word. So well done. And once again, just an incredible story that you guys got in by 4 seconds. So fantastic. So wraps up our episode. Of course, video of the episode's available on Spotify and YouTube. Audio's on Apple, Amazon, and just about every popular podcast platform. If you've liked this episode, please like the episode and write a comment. Let's hear if Boston is on your bucket list, or are you planning to run the Boston Marathon? Let's hear about it. Or if you have, why don't you share your story with us, and let's hear a little bit about you. So remember, everyone, every step forward is a victory. Lace up, hit the road, and we're going to catch you on the very next episode of the Flying Runner. Until then, happy running.
Happy
Happy
running.
running.
Bye, guys.